Pisces. You have come to help your fellow beings develop their sensitivities. You tend to draw to you very critical, overly analytical people, and you can teach these individuals to develop deeper levels of empathy. This also allows them to develop new ways of expressing their analytical abilities that will be more acceptable to others so they won't set themselves up for rejection. You are very sensitive to the energies around you and pick up vibes because you are so psychically developed. Thus, you need to be careful not to absorb the negativity of others. With this natural gift of inborn intuition, you can teach others the value of following their hunches and the usefulness of this awareness. Your hunches are accurate, although often you're not even aware of why you are saying things and where the information is coming from. But you are enough in tune with your energies to know you should follow your hunches. For example, if an upcoming investment was mentioned and you said, don't purchase this one, purchase that one instead, it would be a good bet to follow this advice. This is true when you are following your hunches, not your mind. When such advice comes from a hunch, you have no idea why you said it. It's an intuitive instinct. And following it is extremely beneficial to the life process of those you touch. You are adept in sensing when someone is in a state of distress. You would be an excellent counselor or advisor because of your deep level of sensitivity. What you give your fellow beings is the freedom to be in distress without being judged. As you walk through life, you draw to you people who are very self-judgmental and in need of seeing the larger whole. Through your natural compassion, you can help others to regain their sense of self-worth. Occasionally, even those born with this eclipse pattern lose their way and seem to be caught in a pattern of self-delusion. When this occurs, you may tend to indulge in self-pity and destructive patterns of escapism. Unfortunately, you still draw critical people to you, so you will not be as lucky to those who find their way to you for help. If you lose your way, you need to seek professional assistance to get back to reality and to form more positive behavior patterns. Because your innate nature is so sensitive, assistance not given in a loving, supportive manner can drive you deeper inside yourself. This can lead to a self-imposed state of martyrdom. You may feel it is only right that someone take the burden, and you set yourself up to be the victim. Ironically, even when negatively expressed in victimhood, you model the principles of sensitivity and concern for your fellow beings and often evoke qualities of concern and compassion in others. It is your choice whether to teach this lesson through your negative behavior or your positive behavior. You're teaching this lesson on many levels. We are all God's children, and to dishonor one is to dishonor the source. All human beings are part of the collective whole and contain within themselves the spark of the divine consciousness. We must have regard for all who are lost, even ourselves. We must have respect, love, and compassion for one another. Even if you feel lost, you are teaching that we are all lost along our earthly path. Since we have traveled away from the less confining spiritual realms into the denser physical world, we're constantly struggling to regain the feeling of connectedness with another. Like a magnet, you absorb the negativity of those around you, then send back love, support, understanding, and whatever words of insight you think will ease the other person's pain. Your gift is that of healing through compassion, and people feel better simply by being in your presence. You allow people the freedom to be themselves because you recognize that everybody is in the state of being they need to be to work on their lessons in this lifetime. In relationships, you teach people not to analyze everything to death, remembering that too much separateness leads to unnecessary strains in relationships. You teach that unconnected categories can be self isolating structures, and you help people to let go of feeling that they have to define themselves in order to relate. You also help others to accept the subtleties of life. Through your own psychic receptivity, intuitive insights, and sensitive connectedness to others and to the whole, you validate that there are realms of perception beyond the norm of day-to-day living. You teach others to sense and to feel and to get in touch with the spirit inside themselves and become one with the universe. You can do this through many different modes of expression. As a spiritual teacher and leader, as a living example of compassion and sensitivity, as a person who is supportive and validating to the process of those around you. Regardless of the mode, you teach others to relate with one another from an awareness of their inner divinity. Basically, yours is the gift of modeling the principle of surrender in its highest, most loving form. Others are inspired by you to allow the principle of let go and let God to operate in their lives. You teach others to accept divine inspiration, either through a negative or a positive response flow. On the negative level, you may play the devil's advocate by totally ignoring divine inspiration, not accepting any universal help, and ignoring the spiritual gifts with which you incarnated. You may push away the compassion that others offer and remain a separate, detached entity. On the positive level, you allow spiritual assistance and human compassion to aid you and truly surrender to a higher power. You can also teach your fellow beings how to remain in spiritual consciousness while in the physical body. When you get into the escapism patterns, drugs, alcohol, and so forth, you're actually seeking to regain an altered state of consciousness that you know you are capable of reaching. At some time during your life, you have felt that gift of being connected with a kind of bliss consciousness. And when it gets lost, you can fall into patterns of escapism because you are seeking so desperately to regain it. It's not that the drugs or the alcohol that you want to experience necessarily, but you want to reconnect with the spiritual state that the drug and the alcohol artificially simulate. It won't give you the same sense of spiritual fulfillment that you're seeking. However, it only takes the edge off the reality of the physical realm that is so difficult for you to deal with when you feel disconnected from your spiritual center. What you are really seeking is the altered state of consciousness that is the deep inner serenity and security of feeling the spiritual realm while in the flesh. You can help others to learn to go with the flow. Your philosophy is that everything in the universe is working out exactly as it should, and that if we will only let go, the current will take each of us to our proper destination. You teach that by trusting the universal guidance and letting go of attachment to the ego, we can go with the flow of life and thereby receive the positive rewards we truly deserve. Having a lunar eclipse in this sign, prenatal lunar eclipse, you have been overly critical and have spent too much time putting everything in its proper perspective. Now it's time to recognize that everything blends together and is, in reality, an interacting part of everything else. When you realize this, you'll be able to activate the let go and let God principle in your life. You must learn to allow sensitivity to flow within your being, to listen to the inner voice, and to discern from truth and fiction. During these lessons, it's important to retain your analytical abilities in order to ascertain whether each piece of information is useful. If it is not useful, it is from the imagination. This guiding principle frees you to let these thoughts or spiritual inspirations flow into your mind and to decide if you will act on them. Through this process, you can release the fear of becoming too sensitive and losing your grip on reality. You are allowed to develop these sensitivities and keep your feet on the ground at the same time. You are learning not to be afraid to look at what the universe is trying to show you. The process of look and listen when you have premonitions, intuitions, and so forth. Once you learn to let go and let God and trust the intuitive information that comes through, you will recognize that the purpose is not to make you suffer because of what you see, if it's something painful, but to allow you to correct your direction or the direction of others before unnecessarily painful repercussions take place. The idea is that life or the God consciousness would prefer each of us to learn our lessons as gently as possible. You are learning to be a type of a seer, either later on in this existence or in the next one, who can warn us or allow us to see that we are headed down the wrong path. When you allow yourself to let go and be guided, others who don't have this gift of the psychic foresight can be aided through your guidance. As you become more open to what is around you, you may in some ways become overly sensitive. Some of your feelings may not belong within your environment, so it's important to exercise your ability to discern and discriminate, which you spent so much time developing in the past. This discerning attitude must be brought along on your journey into sensitivity, for without it, you can get lost in the muddle and confusion. By becoming more aware of your sensitivities, you will tend to attract the emotional debris of those with whom you will come into contact. Your living environment may be too close to another's home or apartment that has conflict. If you forget to be discerning, you can absorb the negativity of those around you and claim it as your own. You need to stop and think, not just feel the energy pattern. When you become distracted and disorientated and sense anger, ask yourself, where is this anger coming from? Is it mine? Do I own it? Is it something that I need to handle? Or am I picking up something from someone around me? Remember that as you develop psychically and become a very sensitized being, you will need to take your strongest ally with you on this journey. This ally is your analytical ability, which will assist you in understanding what is going on around you. The universe will never have allowed you to enter onto the path of developing such acute sensitivity if you had not already developed your analytical abilities. The sensitivities that you are learning to develop is best supported by remembering to keep your feet on the ground. You overcategorized others in other lifetimes, which has led to a tendency to need those around you to have set behavior patterns that allow you to keep things in order. Learning to trust your fellow beings is a challenge. In developing new patterns of trust, you will come to grips with the fact that the universe unfolds differently for each person. Realizing this empowers you to increase your faith in the universal plan, which in turn allows you greater access to universal awareness. You can use this guidance for yourself and for those around you. Provided that you overcome your tendency to be too critical and set aside your judgment of human behavior patterns, you can be among the fine psychics and mystics on the planet. You can also become an excellent diagnostician by using the best of your abilities to categorize, analyze, synthesize, and feel the energies of others. If you wish to get on the path to learning these lessons, you may begin by trusting your own intuition and practicing in the context of your daily activities. For example, if you're accustomed to traveling a certain road from one location to the next and have an intuition to take a different route on a certain day for no apparent logical reason, the experiment would be to trust your intuition and to follow that different route. Perhaps the universe has a reason for you not to travel your usual route. In following this inner guidance, you validate your feelings and assure your higher self that you want this guidance and you're able to accept it. This is important because it will strengthen that connection. It is on these mundane levels that you train yourself to trust. Another effective way to begin this training is to physically manifest your intuitions. For example, if your inner voice says that someone needs to hear from you, pick up the phone and call that person. The idea is to physically act on what your inner voice is telling you to do, as long as it is not harmful to anyone. In this way, you let your higher consciousness know directly that you are willing for it to take a more active part in your life. You have the gift of becoming more aware of what you are learning, sensing, and perceiving from the dream state. Keeping a journal of your dreams will help you to combine your intuitive faculties with the practicalities of your daily life in a powerful way. And this is an easy place to begin this lesson. When you learn to get in touch with these energies and to make sense of the continuity of the dream state, you may begin a meditation program that will help you become aware of these energies while awake. Then, during the normal course of the day, you can take control of the energy and receive guidance and inspiration whenever you feel the need. This will help you in overcoming a tendency to be overly self-critical, which can result in too much time being spent in finding the flaws with the self. You need to understand that you are also a physical being working on this planet to evolve. The idea is to let go of the need for perfection so that you can accept the spiritual guidance you came to learn. This will make your whole existence easier and much more gentle. Once you accept your imperfect state without guilt, you're ready to accept spiritual guidance, which can facilitate your growth process into a higher level of perfection.